Hi there, this is Clydo, KA1BSZ. Good morning. Well, it's probably night some places in the world, but I'm here to tell you about a new thing that's in amateur radio today. The thing is called software defined radio. Now, of course, it's been around for a few years, but the thing that I'm talking about is that what it is, it's a computer operated system. It's a receiving system put in a remote site. Like here where I'm living here at this hotel, there's a tremendous amount of interference uh, in the building here, and it's so bad. It's on some of the frequency bands I operate on, like 160 meters, 80 and 40. They're just about useless because the interference from all the computers and the data systems, electrical and heating, air conditioning, fire alarms, uh, you name it, it's here. All that equipment and stuff is running 24 hours a day, and it all puts out a hash of usually of about anywhere from S7 to 10 over 9. And there's a lot of these little bands of harmonics, if you will, every so many kcs on the band. If this was your logging scale on your radio, like there'd be a band here, and you'd see it on your scope. You'd see a band of interference here, and a band here, and then a band here, and so forth and so on. And on the scope there, instead of being clean like it is, shows on the bottom of the screen here, on the scope there, you'd see all these lines going up, and it'd be like this 24 hours a day. Now picture all this interference blocking out my face. Now the interference would be like here. And that's how much interference would be. And the rest of it would be clear. Now if you've got a signal that's over 10 over 9, it'll get through. But there are signals that will get through, and it will kind of get through the interference on. But most generally, all the interference, it masks everything, so you can't hear nothing. So what I did is I found out about this SDR site, and there's a whole bunch of them. They're all over the world. These receivers are all over the world, and some of them have transmitting capabilities. And some of these stations are what they call big gun stations. I mean, they run tremendously high power, 1,500 watts, and so some of them, kind of run a little bit more. You know that. You know that as well as I do. And they run high power. They got big towers and big antennas and preamps, and I mean, hard line transmission lines. Everything you can think of, it's there. They're just big, high powered stations. Now, you just take like someone like me who lives in a hotel. I run a Kenwood 570. I got a laptop computer. I got an off-center fed dipole sitting right outside my room here, and a vertical, and that's all I've got. That's all I can run because I'm restricted on power. I can't run any more than 100 watts, and on phone, I can't run my mic gain any more than 75%. Otherwise, I'll start coming over the telephone lines. So I'm restricted quite a bit. It's like living in a condo or a apartment building when you're restricted. It's just the way it is. It's been that way for over 20 years. And but this new system, this SDR system, it really is nice because I can hear the stuff I've never heard before. You go on to 80 meters on 75 and you tune around the phone band. Like one night, I was listening on a Friday night around, must have been around 10 o'clock. I heard the California phone net. I have never heard that net on 75 meters. It was on 39, I think it's on 3908. And I'm like, where'd this net come from? Never heard this before. And they were coming in about like an S4 or so. Now you see the system, one I'm operating off of or listening to is in Shrewsbury, Vermont. And it's the K1VL system. And it's a really good system. Most of them are all about the same, but some of them have different formats and stuff. Like there's one in Georgia that has a different format, and some of them will only allow you to receive like 80, 40, and 20. There's one in Kingston, New Hampshire, gives you 160, 80, and 40, and that's all. That's all you can use. There's another one that has all the ham bands from 116 meters all the way to 6 meters, and there's some that have maybe like 11 meters and just the upper DX bands 20 through 10 meters. But most generally, they all cover all the general general run of the ham bands. And most of them all, and they cover general coverage too. I mean, they cover from down like 100 kilohertz all the way to like, I don't know, 6 meters, 2 meters. I guess some of them cover all the way up to microwave, But and they, so you can listen to public service broadcasts, listen to FM stereo. You can listen to stuff on there you never heard before, like on 70 megahertz. Now that's 70 megahertz, the 4 meter band. It's a ham band in Europe and Africa, Soviet Union, and the Far East. But it's not a ham band here. Part of that spectrum is a business band, business industrial band. But most scanners don't pick it up because it's not that popular. Like Green Mountain Power has got a system up there they use on their service trucks. And but in Europe, it's an amateur radio band, and a lot of hams over here on the East Coast, if they want to talk to someone on 70 megahertz, what they'll do, they'll transmit on 6 meters and listen on 70 megahertz, and the Europeans will transmit on 70 megahertz and listen on 6. Now you see on 6 meters in Europe, there is no 6 meter band in Europe. The only part of 6 meter band it's operable is from 52 megs above, 52, 53, and 4. From 52 megs below, it's a television band. It's part of their television. And some of the 6 meters, there is no 6 meters in Europe because they have a channel 1. Their channel 1 falls just outside the 6 meter band on the low band commercial, public service commercial frequency band, which is 30 through 50 megahertz. So, anyways, the SDR system, it's a great system. In fact, you can set up your own. You can set up your own station. You go to Handrail, they got that little box there called the SDR, and it's very simple. It's got an RF output for an antenna. Just put up a little dipole outside, and it's got a place to put your power. And then it's got a USB port. Goes in that little box there to your computer. And suppose you want to have a remote site, like me, got a bad interference problem. So you put that like a couple miles away and hook it up to the internet, wireless internet, or or on the phone line or whatever, and you just go with that. Now, suppose you want to put in a transmitting station. Okay, that's even better. So you get yourself a transceiver that has a USB port, so that you can your computer can run that radio. Most generally radios today have that kind of a port, that port there that you can put a computer into that'll run that radio, like Ham Radio Deluxe or Phil Digi or something like that. But you can use it. But the thing is, it won't work with an SDR system. So if you want to run that radio remotely, like say from my place here, like 10 miles down the road, and you want to transmit, so that you put a transceiver there and a power supply, and you put up a decent antenna, like a vertical or a multi-band dipole or something that's going to get you out a little bit there somehow. And if you want to run an amplifier, you get an amplifier. The best thing to do is get an amplifier that can be run remotely. That can do it. You can be automatically controlled. You want to have something that's automatic, that's manual, because you can't tune it. So what the hell is it to have something with a manual operator when you can't tune it from where you're sitting? You do it from the remote side. So anyway, so you have all that stuff. You have your transceiver, you have your SDR receiver interface, and the computer goes all in one box, goes into the internet, and you're sitting home. You say, "Oh, let's get on 20 meters. Let's see what's going on CW." So you get on. See, okay, we're going to operate CW. Okay, so you're not use your own home base for. You get on your computer, you get on there, and you type away. And if you get a touch screen, you go up there, and you fiddle around, you turn the knobs around, and you get up there, and it has a little telegraph key there, and you get out there, and you put your finger on it, you go da 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 da, with a bug, whatever, and off you go. Simple as that. I think they have some a way. A person told me that you can take a rig like you got in your station, and you can hook your computer up to that, and that can go to that remote site and run that system, because you're using your radio to control everything. I've heard of that. Actually, that would be awesome. Sit here and have a remote base somewhere with a kilowatt amplifier in the tower or something. You can't do it here because we got restrictions. So you get over here, you turn your 570 on, and I get my bugs right here, my two telegraph keys here. I got my other computer over here that decodes the teletype and all that sort of stuff. So you got your station right here. This is your basic station. You go through the internet, go through the SDR system, and you control that system. And you can just see it now. Like you're sitting here, and this is KA1BSZ calling CQ, 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 CQ. This is Kill Alpha 1 Bravo Sierra Zulu in Vermont. See, Vermont, add Vermont, so another kilowatt. In Vermont, QRZ. No, it's a big pile up, because you get a 20 over S9 signal, because you're running a kilowatt somewhere else. You're not running a kilowatt here, you're running somewhere else, a remote base. You get a remote base. And all the rig here is an Alpha 77 SX with the two tubes in it. Which I'm thinking. And the antenna is a 9-element homebrew beam antenna on a 190-foot tower. Longest element is a 40-meter element, which is 67 feet long. The boom length is 120 feet. Oh, yeah, sure, of course it is. But, you get my drift. You can turn the antenna, Or if you want to have a basic setup, just dipole, vertical, and a basic rig, and everything else. You know, I used to have all that, but I get sick of the bullshit after a while. So I'm just as happy doing what I'm doing now. A lot simpler, lot less stuff to deal with, you know. But anyways, that's what it is. SDR, software defined radio. And Hammer and All, it sells those little boxes. They're only 120, 130, $40 or so. And if you want more information how to set up something and or whatever you have to get for a system, they'll help you down there. I'm sure any dealer will. I have Giga Parts or not Amazon, but Giga Parts. Oh, what's the other ones here? I was going to say Amateur Electronics Live, but they're not around anymore. God, I can't think of the others. But there's a few others out there. Hammer Outlet's probably the biggest one, and probably the most reliable one to get in contact with. But anyways, that's the way it is. So, anyways, if you got an interference problem, get one of those systems, and you'll be glad you did. Okay, and thank you very much. And you can catch me on 40 meters at night on CW around 7055 in that area doing SKCC contacts, or you can catch me on 20 meters, 20 and 15 meters during the daytime, the mornings. Sometimes late in the afternoon, I get on 75 meters on the Green Mountain net, Vermont net. Sometimes the Cracker Barrel net, the Main Potato net, or I might be on CW. Most generally, I'm on CW. I used to do a lot of teletype and PSK and all that sort of stuff, but I started out with CW and always will be with CW. So, anyways, we'll catch you all in the band. Thank you for listening and watching, and I hope you do well with your SDR system, as I am with mine. And you have a nice evening. Be safe. Don't drink and drive. You might spill your drink, because we'd rather talk to you than read about you in the paper. You have a great evening. Thank you very much for listening. Bye-bye.